Thank you. Hello, everybody. I'm going to be speaking to you about parenting. Why I'm here? I'm a life coach and I've been working with parents, and I've realized over my experience as a life coach is that whatever a person grows up into, it is largely impacted by the way they were parented, which is why I started to work from the root cause with the parents in helping them to nurture their children in a better way. What inspired me to do it is the fact that um, there's a saying. It says the destiny of India lies in the four walls of its classroom. It was given in India's education policy when it was first signed up, and I believe it is because the future of India, it is our children are being nurtured here. But our classroom is the only place where children are nurtured. In fact, children are nurtured more by their parents through their parenting approaches. So it is in our home, in our families, that children are being nurtured to become the best version of themselves. And I feel that as a parent, we have to satisfy five levels of needs of a children. In fact, this was stated in one of the books that I had read. The book was titled "The the Society, Your School, and your Child." So it is basically about our uh, duties as a parent in supporting the kids. And the book states, as per the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, a parent has to fulfill each of these five levels of needs of the children. What are they? First one is first level is physiological needs of the children, which is basically the food needs, this water needs, the sleep, the basic levels of needs, physiological needs. That comes first. And yes, of course, we as parents are very, very, very careful about it. We ensure that we give them nutritious food. We ensure that they have good sleep routines. We ensure that they are healthy enough. Then comes the second level of need, which is the safety needs. Whenever you send a child out, whether it is to a school, whether it is to an after school activity center, whether it is to a neighbor's place, we ensure that the child is going to a safer place. We do a lot of research about this place before sending them there. We just don't send our kids right away to any place. That shows the level of effort we put in for the safety needs. Then comes the belonging need, the child's need for the sense of being loved. This is where the real trick happens, and it is from here that things start to change. What feels a sense of being loved for me does not necessarily have to mean the same for my child. For instance, if somebody says that, Manju, I like the way you've done this thing, I might feel happy about it, but doesn't necessarily mean that my child will be happy about someone appreciating him or her and consider it as a sense of being loved, sense of being accepted. And it is such mismatches that usually cause the difference between the parent and the child. And I'll be giving you more details about this in the upcoming slides. The next one comes the esteem needs, which is a sense of power that the child requires. We all say, the the quest for freedom. Why did it come? Because we all had this need for the sense of power, sense of autonomy. When a child starts to walk by himself or herself, we notice a different level of confidence in themselves because they realize wherever they want to go, they can go by themselves. They don't have to rely on us. They don't have to wait for us to carry them from one location to another. And once they get that sense of autonomy, that is when they start showing a different level of confidence. And this esteem need or the sense of power is must for every individual, not just adults, but for children as well. And when we try to suppress this sense of power by controlling them, by continuously assigning them things to do, that is when we are interfering in this esteem needs of the children, and children start to rebel against parents. So, in order to avoid this, we need to support the child to feel their esteem needs as well. How do we do it? I'll be letting you know in the upcoming slide. The last level of need is the self actualization need. Self actualization means me becoming the best version of myself. not the best version that you think a person is, not the best version that the society thinks a person is, not the best version that the parents think the child is, but me or the child alone becoming the best version of themselves, whoever they are, whatever they are born to do and whatever they are born to achieve, becoming the best of themselves is called this self-actualization need. And it is a parent's duty to support the child along all these five levels of needs. Now, when we say we are supporting the child to become a doctor or an engineer, usually which is what the parent's career choice is in normal trends. Or if we say we are nurturing the child to become a sports person, whatever it is, this is towards helping them achieve their self actualization needs. But for a child to achieve a self actualization need, we need to ensure all the other remaining lower levels, levels 1, 2, 3, and 4, are achieved. Only then the child has a hunger to achieve in this level. So, if you are a parent who has been longing to help your child become his or her best version, then remember you need to ensure you are giving them a good, healthy environment, a safe environment. Make sure that you are helping them feel loved. Make sure that you are giving them that sense of autonomy, sense of power. And then the journey towards becoming the best version of themselves is naturally started by the child himself or herself. We don't have to go and tell our child, come on, you can do it. But the child will rather start doing it all by himself or herself. After this, you're just going to be the support system that is going to help them stay on track, like a lighthouse, like a GPS, showing them the path, but not pushing them to travel through the path. All you have to do is just show them the path, and the child will stick to it, provided you have fulfilled all these four levels of parenting. Now, when parenting is a journey, it has been there ever since mankind originated. In fact, parenting is a journey which is done by animals themselves. But in their cases, it was just rearing a child. They raised a child to become an individual. Whether it fell these three, four, five levels of need is no matter for an animal. And it was no matter for a primitive man. But as our human minds become more sophisticated, we had all these five levels of needs evolved, which is why parenting with the generations is becoming trickier and trickier, challenging and challenging because our human minds are becoming complex and so are our children. So, how do we deal with it? The levels 1 and 2, I said, we are automatically meeting with. What do we do about these level 3, 4, and 5, which are the most trickiest? First one, children don't say, I had a hard day, can we talk? They say, will you play with me? Have you heard your children say this? Amma, come and play with me. Mom, come and play with me. Dad, come and play with me. Or mom, can I sit with you for a while? If you find your child hanging around you and constantly asking for your attention, longing for your attention, and constantly calling you towards them, which it means the child is longing for a sense of belonging from you. You could be busy with your work, you could be busy in the kitchen, but for a child to understand this is difficult. In that case, how do you support? Ensure that you make time out for your children every single day. Just like we ensure that we have three good meals a day, we need to ensure we give children adequate amount of undivided attention. In my home, we call it golden time. So whenever I say I'm going to have my golden time with my children love it. They have a set of games planned for the day, and we ensure that before going to bed, we spend at least 10 minutes individually for each of the child, and we give them that undivided attention. Nobody else is allowed to involve in that game, and we have our mobiles or laptop, everything away from the kids. No TV, nothing. It's just me and my child playing a game of my child's choice. So when I start being more physically, mentally, emotionally, and energetically present with my child will have his or her sense of belonging fulfilled. And it is important an imperative that every single parent ensures that they give their child this sense of belonging. And you can get as creative as you want, as exciting as you want. You can make it. Make sure that your child enjoys it. How do you know that your child has achieved his or her required dose of sense of belonging? When you find your child laughing his or her heart out without knowing what is going on, they will roll on the floors and laugh. They will they'll be in the most calm state. They'll be breathing very calmly. That means your child has already achieved that sense of belonging with you. And after that, if you go continue doing your work, your child will not come and nag at you, because whatever attention your child wanted from you has already been given. The child now wants his or her space, and you can take your space. Once you start filling this sense of belonging needs in your child, then comes your child's sense of esteem. Remember, this sense of belonging, you will have to do it every day, just like we have food every day, just like we bathe every day. This sense of belonging also has to be catered to every single day. Just because I spend a good time with my child yesterday doesn't mean that my child will continue to have that same sense of attachment with me. I will have to refill that cup. Remember that. On that note, we'll see how we can provide a child a sense of esteem. One of the most easiest or most important tip I can give you for building a child's self-esteem is, remember this: the image we create of our child within themselves is the self-image that the child is going to carry on for the rest of their life. And how are we actually creating the images? By the way we talk about our children, by the way we talk to our children. If we treat them in a more respectful manner, if we speak the right things, the good things, the best things about themselves, the child learns to accept this as their self image. And one secret is, every child wants to ensure they are the reason for his or her parents' happiness. So the more you speak about a child's positive thing or positive attitude or positive behavior, the more the child will start ensuring that they spend time on these behaviors. If you say your child is very organized, in case your child is really organized, if you identify it and if you appreciate it, you will note your child naturally start doing more of those things that that help them get your sense of appreciation. Why? Because that boosts your child's self-esteem. And just like we as adults say, we want to be the reason for the smile on our parents' face, and we want to be the reason for the smile on our children's face. All children by default have that innate feeling to, to be the reason for smile on their parents' face. And if we use it right, we can nurture our children very nicely. But if on the other hand, parents keep criticizing children, say for example, you're always going to school late. That means gradually the child starts to develop an image saying, okay, I'm always late. I'm not a punctual person. My parents don't like this version of me. But the child will not by default learn that if I change this, my parents will like it. The child will only learn when you start to notice the best version of things on themselves. If they draw well, appreciate it. If they are dressed up well, appreciate it. If they do a work without you reminding them, appreciate it. The more you start appreciating things, the more they will start to change themselves. And the more the appreciation they get, the more the things that they are able to match up to your expectations, the more the things that they are able to do all by themselves. That is when a child's self-esteem increases. So every time a child meets your bar, appreciate it, acknowledge it, and then gently raise the bar. So every time your child tries to reach that new bar, they work towards it, and every single achievement gives them that sense of esteem, sense of power, and that sense of being praised and appreciated by their parents. So this is for fulfilling a child's self-esteem. Now comes supporting a child's journey towards self-actualization. There is a very famous Tamil literature called Tirukkural, and there is one verse in it which says, "Tandai magar kattrum nandri, avayattu mundi iruppa செயல்." It means the gratitude that a dad can show his or her child is, so his child is to help the child become the best in the business. Now, there is a misconception. People believe by helping a child becoming the best in business, we assume that by helping them becoming an engineer or doctor or going to the best of the universities, we are granting them the guarantee to become the best version of themselves. Now, that is not what it is. There is a very famous quote which says, "Parent the child you have, not the child you think you have." For instance, my elder son is aspiring to become a professional chess player. So everything that we have in our house is the routines we have at home, the kind of schools that we have chosen for him. Every single thing is based on this particular factor. That the fact that he has a chess routine that he has to stick to, and everything else will be around this. Chess is not the side thing for him, it is the main thing for him. Why? Because he chose to become a professional chess player. Similarly, my same elder son, he is not more of an organized person. He doesn't like to sit and organize things patiently. Now, if I, as a parent, I'm going to pick fault at it by constantly pointing out, saying, "You're not organizing your things, you're not organizing your things," he will not go and fulfill his dream of becoming a chess player. He will rather start feeling low of himself. Every time I find my son doing something like this, I remind myself of Albert Einstein. Albert Einstein himself was considered to be a little messy. In fact, we can see from his photos. And I have learned his life story in my grade 12 English. I remember he wouldn't even change his socks regularly. So once I understood this, I started giving my son the space he needed to focus. So all his focus would be on his chess. Everything else would be designed around that. Similarly, find out what your child longs for. And when we say this, there's one thing I want to remind you of. When the eyes are for seeing, we know that. The nose is for smelling, we know that. But human mind has a completely different configuration. When we say every human being is unique, that uniqueness is not just in the physical appearance. It is because every single human mind is totally different. In order for you to understand a person, you need to understand their personality, their strengths, their weakness, their value systems, their passions, etc. These are what make a human a human. Everything is just flesh, bones, and skin. When you have to understand a human, you need to understand this. And remember, your child is an individual human being with individual mind. They are not an extended version of yourself or any of your family members for that matter. They are individual human beings with totally different personality, totally completely different set of strengths and weakness, a different set of value systems and passions. Once you identify this in your child and help your child to live to the best version of this personality, this strength, and help them overcome their weakness, help them live true to their value, help them live a life of their passions, that is when you can help your child become the best version of themselves. And on this note, I want to underline one more important point. Neuroscience experts say that this term, what we call passions, are intrinsic motivations in an individual. And for a person to be really happy, they need to utilize at least 30% of this intrinsic motivation every single day, not just as a child, even as an adult. Which means if you feel you are not doing happy throughout the day, see if you're really utilizing your passions. If not, start doing something that will help you live by your passions. And then see how beautifully you transform, how beautifully your children transform, and how beautifully your relationship with your family will transform. Okay. One last note. Know your child, grow your child, understand who your child is, understand what your child wants, and then cater to their needs. So, in that way, when you start growing your child will not just grow up to be a successful child, your child will grow on to be a happy individual. And almost that is what every parent's dream is, to ensure that their child is happy and successful, whether or not they are there in the part of the child's life. Every parent says, like, even if I'm no more, I want my child to be happy and successful. How do you ensure that? By fulfilling these 5 levels of needs in your children is what you can do to ensure your child is happy and successful in their life. Last but not the least, remember the duty of a parent is to give their children roots to belong, a strong family system, a strong culture, a strong set of values to belong, a home to belong, and wings to fly, so that the child can become the best version of themselves and go on to achieve whatever they are destined to achieve. So that is all that I have for you. If you have any queries, you can reach out to me. Here's my Instagram handle. Here's my contact number. You can always feel free to WhatsApp me. And if you have any questions, I'm ready to answer them.
Thanks a lot, Miss Manju. If you are done with the PPT, you can stop sharing your screen and be on the camera so that the audience can have a better view of you.
Yeah, I've turned off the...
Yes. So, audience, as Miss Manju mentioned, she has flashed her number also on the last slide. Her LinkedIn profile is also linked, to the name on our website. You can reach out to her directly if you need any help. There are a couple of questions lined up. Almost all the points have been covered, but still, Miss Manju, the parents are curious to know. The first question is, what motivated you to become involved in educating and advising parents, ma'am?
Okay. So when I started my life coaching journey, I was working with individuals. And when we work as a life coach, what we help individuals do is whatever they want to achieve in their life, say a couple of years from now, we help them create a roadmap towards it. And whatever is making things difficult for them, it is 10 on 10 cases, the person's mindset. But whatever makes it difficult for them to achieve, we help them shed those limiting beliefs. We call those things as limiting beliefs because those are something that I strongly believe in, but they are limiting my journey towards success. So we help them identify whatever limiting beliefs they are carrying, and we help them shed one by one. And over the course of my experience as a coach, I realized that all of us have picked up these limiting beliefs from our childhood. And in most cases, it comes through parents and their nurturing. So I'll give you one example of how this limiting belief works. So I was always told as a child that you don't go and talk to strangers unnecessarily. When they say strangers, even the neighbors, they would say, you don't go and talk to people unnecessarily. When someone needs any help or when you're going to give them something, say we are giving them sweets during festivals, you can go and talk. But otherwise, don't keep going and talking to people unnecessarily. So that remained deeply ingrained in me. Now that was taught to me because parents were considered where actually they were concerned about my safety because we never know who is the right person, who is the wrong person. The child should not be negatively influenced. But that neutral phase went on to stick into me, saying to the extent that once I grew up, I stopped avoiding people totally, even my own relatives. When I see someone coming by the road, my own family relatives, I didn't know what to talk to them. And in order to avoid that awkward silence, I would cross the road so that I don't have to meet them face to face. And once I began to establish myself as an author, this came to hit my journey. And I realized it was for the safety. Now I know how to handle my safety. Now I have to understand how I will go and reach out to people, how I will have a strong conversation with people. Now, this limiting journey in my case was a neutral one. There are cases where we have seen clients say that they were constantly told, you will not be able to do this. And the person goes on to believe that they will not be able to do this. They accept that they will not be able to do this. Just
So
like
what
how,
are some,
yes,
yes.
please.
So what are some common challenges that parents face today and how do you recommend overcoming them?
Okay, the common challenge is first one, the screen addiction. And how do you overcome them? We need to bring in strong lifestyle changes. First one is build that sense of belonging with your child. Once you have the sense of belonging, start giving your child productive alternatives in addition to screen timings. Once you change their focus point from the screen time to something else productive, start removing the screens from their routine system. Like, for instance, we have removed our television to my mother-in-law's room. It is not there in our living room. So, children don't have that constant urge to watch TV because it's not in front of them. Similarly, see how you can shift their screens away from them. So once you remove the trigger, shift their focus to to a productive side, and you ensure that you give them the attention they need. They will not ask for screens. That is guaranteed because this is how we are using it in our house.
Right. So coming to the education part of a child, how can parents actively engage in and support their child's education?
Okay, there are couple of different notions here. One thing is we as parents feel that we need to constantly support them. But I would rather give you a tip. Empower your child so well that your child is able to study with or without your presence. Whenever your presence is required, you can be there for support. But your ensure that you train your child to be individual themselves. Ask them to do their homeworks themselves, their projects themselves. Do not get involved in it. Yes, it will be difficult for them, but they will learn big time that way. And once they learn to do things themselves, they will let you know what they want to do. They will let you know how they want to achieve things, and they will let you know where they need your support. So whenever they call for your support, be there. That is all that is required.
Okay. So in a child's growth, teacher also plays an important role. So what
Yes.
communication strategies do you recommend for effective parent-child and parent-teacher communication?
Okay. Most schools these days are accommodative of the difference in preferences between kids. Okay, like some children like to learn by playing. Some children like to sit and learn. Most schools are accommodative of these needs now. But if you find your teacher constantly picking on your child, like I have had my cousin's child being constantly picked in the class because he was an overactive child and he wouldn't prefer sitting and learning. So if you find your child being constantly picked up, then you can go have a word with your teacher, explain how your child is unique and how you want your child to be supported. Most schools are definitely accommodative of these facts now because there is a growing awareness about these trends. So whatever you feel, the anything extra that your child needs, a specific concern, you can always have a word with the school. Similarly, if you have your child showing more focus on extracurricular activities, please have a word with the school and see how they can accommodate the child's needs. So in my case, we spoke to our school so that my child can get a 10-minute window to be late to school because he goes for athletics practice in morning. Similarly, find ways in which your child's needs can be accommodated. So that is very important. And have an open conversation with your teachers because at the end of the day, even they want your child's success as much as you want.
Right. So teenage plays a crucial role in a child's growth as well as the parents. Okay. So how can parents create an open and trusting line of communication with their children in their teenage?
Okay. So first thing, the level of the sense of belonging, I said, that is a must because the lesser the level of sense of belonging, the more the child tends to move away from parents. Then the next thing is whatever the child wants to communicate, even if it is completely against what you believe is right or wrong, learn to listen non-judgmentally. When you listen to the child non-judgmentally, the child feels it is safe for them to open up and speak to you. Once you realize that, once you hear what the child has told you, just then ask them, if you feel it is right, give them the liberty to do so. Or if you feel the child is wrong somewhere, have an open conversation with your child and ask them what prompted to think this way, and have a proper discussion, a normal discussion. When I say normal discussion, your tone of voice with your child has to be this normal level of voice. Whenever you find your tone of voice increasing, it means you are getting a little excited or angry about it. And remember, the moment you hit a higher tone, your teenage children will hit the higher tone as well. So please keep your tone of voice normal conversation and have a normal discussion. And if you still feel your child, you're not able to convince your child wrong, saying that whatever they have taught is wrong, then tell your child, I feel this is wrong. But if you still feel this is right, I give you the space to do it. But if you feel you're going wrong somewhere, remember, I'm always there for you. Okay. This is the level at which teenagers actually have open conversations. The moment you try to stop them from doing something, children will not be able to listen, for the fact that uh, the the part of the brain which identify what is right and what is wrong, the rational thinking part of the brain, it matures only at the end of our teenage, which is why the voting rights, the marriage rights is everything after 18 years. So your child will not be able to think what is right or wrong. Neither will your child be able to accept blindly what you say is right or wrong. So be there to tell them what is right and give them space, be their safety net to take that calculated risk in life. This is how you will have to support your teenager so that your communication with them is open and they trust you to come back and tell you anything.
Right. So, ma'am, we live in a society where we need to follow some societal norms and the culture. So how can parents approach parenting with cultural sensitivity and awareness?
Okay. This culture is again about belief systems, about what we feel is right and what we feel is wrong. I would generally recommend starting with something at home. Just like every individual feels, these are things that are right and these are things that are wrong, and these are things that I can compromise on, and these are things that I cannot compromise on. In our life coaching parlance, we call it value systems. Similarly, every family has what they feel is right and what they feel is wrong. Okay, when you define what is right, what is accepted in this family, make sure what to include what you feel is right according to your culture. Remember, if you give 10 values, uh, start with a belief that your child is going to accept only 4 to 5 values. The remaining 5, the child might not accept. The child will come up with his or her own belief systems. Start with this notion in mind so that you don't go and enforce all 10 on you, on the child. But you can choose and prioritize what you feel is important. Like in our case, I have told my children empathy is important. And I ensure that when no matter what goes on in and around them, they stand up empathetically for people. Similarly, choose what you feel is right according to your societal norms, according to your culture, and make sure to include that in the set of values that you always teach children. And when you teach children, it should not be like, do this is right, do this is wrong. It can be games, it can be storytelling, it can be through life experience. But mere instructions will never work. And whatever you teach your children, the most simplest way to get them follow it is by doing it and standing true to it yourself. I hope that helps.
Right. So how can parents foster emotional intelligence in their children?
Okay, so emotional intelligence is an umbrella of term. It comprises of the factor like first I will have to understand what emotional state I am in, and then I need to learn to express it the right way. The third thing is I have to understand what emotional state the people around me are in, and I need to understand how I will handle it. Then fifth one is I have to have a constant motivation to achieve things which I want to. Sixth one is resilience, which is to rise back after failures. All these six factors together comprise emotional intelligence. The best way to teach emotional intelligence to children is start with yourself. Um, First, you have to learn to regulate your emotions. That is from your side. But how do you teach that to your child? We have emojis these days. Ask your child to start showing emojis to explain what emotional state they are in. That will give them an awareness on how their emotions are showing up in their body. That will help them to understand, okay, now if I feel like doing this, this means I'm in this particular emotional state. Then teach your children what is the right way of handling any emotion and tell them no matter what emotional state it is always right. And I mean, there are no wrong emotions. In emotions, we just have two types: empowering emotions and disempowering emotions. There are no right emotions and wrong emotions. So, whether your child is angry, sad, fearful, tell your child it is absolutely okay to have that emotion, but draw a boundary on how you want to regulate it. For instance, when your child is angry and throwing things out or trying to hit them, then you can tell your child, I understand you are angry and it is perfectly normal for you to feel angry when you feel things are not going your way. But I cannot let you hit another person. I cannot let you throw this down. If you want, I'll give you a paper and pen. You can scribble it out. Or if you want, I'll give you a poppet. Go break your poppet and play with your poppet until your stress comes down. This is for very, very young children. As they grow up, you can start slowly start introducing meditation into their routines, and always help your child practice gratitude. Before going to bed, ask them to think of three most good things that happened over the day and express gratitude to the universe for that particular occasion or that particular person. This helps your child to break free from any disempowering emotions and shift to a positive emotion. So when they go to sleep with a positive emotion, they wake up with a positive emotion. This is for sustaining it. The third thing about understanding other people's emotion, that comes once we start understanding the emojis and how emotions are showing up in our body. What I do with my kids is tell them when somebody raises their tone of voice, when somebody is banging around things, they are angry. In that case, move away from their face if possible, because an angry person you cannot go and explain anything rationally, even if it is your own child or a parent. So tell them how you handle those emotional states in other people and show that in action. That is how your children will learn. Hope that helps.
Ma'am, thanks a lot for explaining all the questions in detail. Last but not the least, are there any resources or books you recommend for parents looking to enhance their parenting skills?
Parenting skills, I would definitely recommend a book by Shelda Sin. I don't have that book's name right now handy, but I can get it and share it to you, Pravina. Probably you can share it with them in your school resources. It was
Sure.
a wonderful book. It helped me think from a different perspective about children.
Mhm. So I hope whoever wants the name, they can contact me directly. Like you have my mail ID and you have your support email IDs also of our website. So please do reach us and please do reach Miss Manju also. She has given her number too. And Miss Manju, that ends the question answer round. School Journal of Education and schoolreformer.com. Thank you for the talk and for patiently answering all the questions, ma'am. Some questions were repetitive, but you were very patient explaining in detail. We also thank the audience for participating in the event and for the wonderful questions posted. We will end the session now. Miss Manju, you want to mention anything else?
Yeah, I just have one note for parents. When you're raising your kids, remember you're not just raising your kids, you are raising the future of India, the future of the world, the future of the mankind. Please take all possible efforts to ensure you raise the children right. Yes, it will be a difficult task, but you will have to come out of your comfort zone. But you are doing it not just for you, you're doing it just for the sake of entire mankind. Please be kind towards your children. Okay, thank you.
Wonderful quote to end with, ma'am. Thanks a lot. Thanks again. We'll end the session now.
Thank you.